Autistic people of Reddit, what would you like everyone to know? If I'm asking questions that seem dumb even though I seem smart most of the time, just answer them. Sometimes all I need is the context I'm asking for to help me sort things out. Autistic adults exist. It's not like as soon as we turn 18 we wave our autism goodbye. If I mention that I can't tell if you're joking or serious, even if it's blindingly obvious that you were joking, I need you to bear with me when I ask, because sometimes it is so difficult to differentiate between a joke and a serious sentiment. That autism isn't a one-size-fits-all diagnosis. It's a very broad, nonlinear spectrum. More like a color wheel than a straight line. Also, just because you might not think someone looks autistic or you never would have guessed, doesn't mean they aren't. Chances are, those people expend a lot of energy masking their autistic traits to fit in. You don't look autistic is the worst thing you can say. Like, yeah, I know that you would never guess that I'm autistic without me explicitly telling you that. That still doesn't mean that I'm not. Oh. Info dumping. Opted to mention it because the sheer amount of horrid things that I have seen being aimed at autistic people for info dumping is nasty. We often get special interests in things, and enjoy gathering information and talking to others about them. We find someone to talk to about it and everything comes out, talk your ear off for hours easily, and the details will often be very intricate. We don't mean anything other than being excited about the thing. We don't always catch on that you're not interested in the intricacies of Jorge Cardos' relationship with the Chis ascendancy, sorry. It's not us trying to show off, to look superior, being elitist, or gatekeeping. We're just excited over something we enjoy. I was diagnosed with Asperger's at the age of 11. I feel like I'm part of a play where everyone has the script except me. Being autistic does not mean a lack of empathy. We may not express or process our feelings the same way as neurotypical people do, but it does not mean we don't have feelings. That eye contact is a weird, horrible thing and I don't know how you people do it. If I seem standoffish to you, it's literally because I have zero social skills and will not approach you to talk if you don't talk to me first. I understand your emotions, in fact I understand them so well that my own emotions are influenced by other people's, and other people's emotions can easily overwhelm me. Emotional states of myself and others are easy to read, especially in voice tone and expression. But I don't get your body language, at all. Yes, this isn't universal, I just get annoyed at the whole "you're all asocial, you don't understand emotions" when in fact it differs for everyone. I can read other people's emotions easily, but not everyone can. I forget to put emotions on my face sometimes. Some people I know get overwhelmed more by their own, some can't read expression or tone like I can, some can read body language where I go blank. We're not one size fits all. Just because I'm quiet doesn't mean I'm snooty or aloof and desire to be excluded. Reading through these comments, I'm getting worried that I might have autism. How did you who have autism find out? When I seem slow to you, it's because I need you to be more specific in what you need from me. My brain is literally unable to play the guessing game. Edit 1. Oh my god. Thanks for all the upvotes. Didn't expect this. Thanks everyone. Smiley face. Edit 2. Thanks for the gold. First one finally. I can pay better attention to what you're saying if I'm not looking at you. So when my gaze wanders and I'm staring at the floor or the walls, or anything but you, I'm listening intently. I just can't focus on looking at you or making eye contact and understand what you are saying at the same time. If I look at you, I won't hear you. If you call me on the phone, I will also not hear you. Phones stress me out. Every autistic person is different. Some hate physical contact, some love it, some can't speak, some can. Do not assume we are all the same ever. We are not all like Sheldon Cooper, Sean Murphy, Forrest Gump, or other extremely autistic people in movies/series. We tend to notice the weirdest stuff or things in the background. Please don't be one of those people who assumes autism means we have a high/low mental age. I'll be insulted if you talk to me like I'm 8. I'll be confused if you talk to me like Albert Einstein. Textures and sounds are painful. Sometimes even being touched can hurt. This world is very isolating for many of us. Some are too autistic for the NT world and some aren't autistic enough for the special needs world. No, not everyone is a little autistic. You don't understand why/how/what. Some of us may have flat tones and cannot express emotion, but we do feel. And the autism jokes sometimes make us sad and/or angry. Meltdowns aren't tantrums. In a meltdown you lose all awareness and it can be very dangerous. That Autism Speaks is a hate group. The Autistic Self-Advocacy Network is a better organization to support. I might be different, but that doesn't mean I want to be treated any differently to anyone else. I am going to say something that offends you. It's going to happen. If we tell you we find something is offensive, puzzle piece logo, autism dollar peaks, light it up blue, etc., believe us. Don't argue with us that we are wrong and it makes people's lives easier or whatever crappy excuse you want to use to ignore us. Some more examples of this is people first language, autistic person vs person with autism. Some of us like one way and not the other, but no one else gets the right to tell someone they are identifying incorrectly. Functioning labels, as well. High and low functioning are commonly used, but that can be really hurtful language. Instead, high and low support needs are preferred language for most of us. The reason for that is you never really know how well someone else is functioning. They may appear to be doing really well, but they may be doing therapies once a day and have a support team that takes the burden off of them at home, like me. So when you see them shopping unassisted and doing okay, it doesn't mean they can function perfectly everywhere else. Honestly, this one is what gets me the most. What do you mean you can't do this labor-intensive favor for me? You were fine yesterday when I saw you, yes, and now I need to recover or risk a meltdown. Oh. And I'm a chronic over-explainer. That not everyone with autism is like Rain Man. We can't all recite from memory what day of the week certain events happened or are savants. However, we all have different strengths and some of us have intense interests that we know a lot about. We are not a party trick for this either. Ever heard of autism hidden in plain sight? Next time they want to make one of your stupid autism jokes in class, keep that in mind. Someone is sitting in there, already feel bad about having the diagnosis and being scared what people might think. It doesn't help us, it just makes us shut up even more. We are everywhere, you just doesn't see. I hope this blows up because people on the spectrum need more of a voice on society. I want to know more because people aren't educated about this stuff. Great question. Not everyone with Asperger syndrome is out to be a jerk, and our interests or hobbies do not define our personality as people. More so, I struggle with my emotions just like everyone else, and it is not like I am not able to feel empathy. Sometimes my brain hard locks trying to process sentences out loud, sort of like when you can't remember a word, but for the entire sentence forming apparatus. The analogy I use is when a program goes not responding on your computer, it's not thinking or waiting, it's just stopped and spam clicking on it does nothing, either have to wait for it to kick back into processing, or restart from scratch. Had a job interview where they asked me a question that I didn't have an answer prepared for, and I spent a very awkward, what felt like 5 minutes, 30 or so seconds of silence where I knew I was supposed to be talking, but my brain was stalled. It's not that I couldn't work out what to say, it's that I couldn't work out how to speak. People who have bullied me in the past bullied me because I'm different, and they made me hate who I truly was. As I got older, I learned to love myself and learned to embrace my flaws. I had to get diagnosed in my mid-20s so that people would finally accept that I have difficulties. I didn't want to get diagnosed, but I felt forced to. Just so I could prove once and for all that it's not me choosing to be a difficult person. In the UK the process takes so much time, and in the end you can't really be treated anyway, so what's the point when I already know and have accepted it? It's like if you weren't diagnosed as a kid then you're not valid. But only the kids with the most extreme symptoms get diagnosed early, and I guess that's what people think autism looks like. It really doesn't take much to adjust the way you interpret what I'm saying, or just to understand I might not be as clear as I want to be. But people will still overreact and misinterpret, despite knowing I have difficulty communicating. Even if I didn't have autism, it wouldn't be unreasonable to understand that. But people in general still don't get it, even ones who rave about mental health awareness. It's like autism isn't taken as seriously as depression or anxiety because it's not urgent. It's viewed as a permanent thing that can't be cured, so it's treated like a lost limb. Anxiety and depression are easier to understand, I guess, and are somewhat curable with treatment and time. Whereas autism is a bottom-line disability, so there's no point trying. I don't really get that, but that seems to be the attitude of a lot of people who I thought would be more understanding of mental health. Might just be me being around bad people, but my entire experience at school and university in the UK has made me feel like this is just how society is. Contrary to popular belief, we're not psychopaths. That shit's been debunked eons ago. The fact that we oftentimes don't know what to do with that information doesn't mean we don't have empathy. I have a 1,000-yard stare. If you feel like I'm staring at you, I'm either not, or I'm trying to cudgel my brain into coming up with something nice to say to you. Please don't treat me like I'm a creeper or a stalker, because it's hard enough to form anything approaching human attachments, and you yelling at me to stop staring is a blow to my self-esteem. If I'm looking at your shoes or behind you when I'm talking to you, it means I'm paying attention to what you're saying. I'm not ignoring you. We mean well, but sometimes we say the wrong things and make everything worse. And I've got a relevant story. There's a guy at work whom I find attractive and enjoy talking to. We get along fantastically. He's married with kids, so I'd never hit on him or try to start anything. I keep it strictly platonic. About 2 weeks ago, his regular tool partner was absent, so I got partnered up with him for the first time in the 5 months I've known him. The first day we worked together, Everything was great. We spent pretty much the whole day joking around, being smart asses to each other and having fun. The second day, I stepped on his knee pad. We work outside all day, and when he got irritated with me, I sassied him and was a smart ass because I literally didn't realize that he was actually getting mad. Looking back, I was being a gigantic douche, but at the time I legitimately thought he was joking, and it wasn't until morning break that I realized he was mad at me. I tried to apologize, but I said the wrong things and ultimately shot myself in the foot, so I awkwardly worked in silence until lunch and didn't say a word to him unless he specifically asked me something. After lunch he seemed to lighten up a bit. He offered me a red starburst, and when we went into our prefab area and saw clothes on the table, he asked me if I thought two of our colleagues were banging each other in the shitters. Normally I would have laughed and made some vulgar comments, but I was too baffled as to why he was making conversation with me. I was confused beyond belief. I simply couldn't understand why this guy who was mad at me would make a joke and try to have a conversation, so I just shrugged and said I didn't know. Was he still mad at me or not? I genuinely couldn't tell, and I didn't want to ask, so I stayed quiet for the most part. The next day his regular tool partner came back and I got paired with someone else. This was a little over 2 weeks ago, and I've been going out of my way to avoid him ever since, because I'm worried that I fucked up big time and that things between us will never go back to the way things were. High-functioning autism in women displays very differently than in men, which leads to many women being underdiagnosed or misdiagnosed, often with bipolar or BDP. It is believed that due to the expectations on girls from a young age, that high-functioning autistic females learn to mask and hide the things that make them stand out better than boys. Which leads to women who seem fairly normal if not a little quirky, but are trying really fucking hard all the time to keep up this appearance. It is absolutely exhausting, and people are far less understanding when you have a meltdown because you seem so normal. Letting your kid get away with doing bad things when they're young because they're autistic, they don't know any better, isn't healthy. Explain why we can't or shouldn't do things, and still punish for it if it happens repeatedly. Also, don't hide a diagnosis from your kid. They'll know they're different, and knowing why is a lot less stressful. Having to act normal is so fucking straining. I'm monotone and don't like being touched, but family and social pressure, including having teachers screaming in my fucking ear, to act normal. Not normal, but a non-disabled normal. I'm always multitasking. Acting, dealing with sensory issues, sight, sound, and touch, and doing whatever I am. It's like being in the closed for a gay person in a bigoted area, which I was. The stress broke me in different ways. I was also supposed to be the good autistic who could prove we were just as smart and worthy as normal kids. And #X200B. We're not all introverted. I love going out and talking to different people, trying new things. And #X200B. Physical activity can be difficult as we have coordination issues. And #X200B. I have trouble at jobs because I don't talk about my condition, as I have been terminated for it or threats of termination. The people in charge who should do something about the discrimination are usually against me. Or they treat me like I'm trying to freeload off the system. I have other disabilities, and doctors, teachers, etc. only tell me it could be worse instead of being helpful. And hashtag X200B. There's more if this gets enough attention. Autistic is not a good way to describe a stupid person. It pisses me off when I'm watching a stream and the streamer / someone else calls someone autistic when they die. Even if they were, it's not their fault. Also, autistic people aren't stupid or dumb, they just think differently to other people. I have an autistic brother who hates anyone who touches him, talk to him or attempt to look at him. Only us, mom, dad, 3 brothers and 1 sister who have 2 kids, to talk to him or touch him or even stand behind him or in front of him. We don't fucking get autism from vaccines. Autism is not a fucking disease. If you could get autism from vaccines, it would be contagious. We can either not express our emotions well, or we are extremely sensitive to emotions. I didn't get autism from a vaccine. And even if I did, it is much better than having polio or a life-threatening illness that could come from not getting vaccinated. Don't use autism as a slur or derogatory term. It is honestly incredibly hurtful to hear, especially because it spreads the misinformation that autistic and retarded are the same, which simply they aren't. I am autistic and extroverted. Don't tell me I'm not autistic. Don't expect me to be socially extroverted. But when my topic of interest is being discussed, I will absolutely engage. Just don't ask me for drinks afterwards. 90% of autistic people just act like normal people but more introverted. 10% act like Chris Chan. I'm in that 90%, but I have a kid in my SPED class that is definitely in that 10%. Just because I'm quiet and don't say a whole lot doesn't mean I'm stupid, it means I don't have anything meaningful to add to the conversation. I am not autistic, but the man I love is. I want anyone neurotypical to know that being in a relationship with a person on the spectrum requires a lot of patience and adaptation, but it is so totally worth the effort. People on the spectrum are not emotionless robots, but in fact feel things very deeply, they just don't express it or show it in traditional ways. I would like people to know that people with autism are very capable of being in relationships and shouldn't be written off as undateable just because of their disorder. Unable to make eye contact when conversing with someone. Tend to have a lot of accidental eye contact with random people without realizing it, often when just walking past them or whatever. I'm not sure if other people experience the same thing, but I'm not kidding when I say I have a lot of sensory issues. I get extremely nauseous from smells that most people wouldn't bat an eye at. If I'm somewhere loud, I can't filter out the sound of whoever is talking to me from everything else. I normally can't go anywhere without sunglasses because even when I'm indoors sometimes it gets to be too much. If I'm not having a good time due to overstimulation, I can become nonverbal or at least close to it. The world is not kind to people with sensory issues, so if you see an autistic person wearing headphones all the time or wearing sunglasses indoors or stimming for comfort, please just let them be. If I say don't touch me, don't fucking touch me. I don't care if it's rude. I don't care if your feelings are hurt. If I say don't touch me, it's because I'm already panicking, and physical contact is likely to be highly painful and may even cause me to completely shut down. Please don't smack, slurp, and make other obnoxious chewing noises when you eat. Let me explain to you in full detail. If we freak out, it is because we are having trouble processing something. For example, I have texture problems, and if something happens, just give me space and time. Don't tell us that everyone is a bit autistic. It's belittling and ridiculous. Don't tell us to smile, and definitely don't touch us without consent. Well, since nobody has said it yet, I'll just say it. Girls can be on the spectrum too. And milk doesn't cause autism, PETA. Go back to your euthanasia caves. Some of us don't scream, kick out, or are nonverbal. Some of us are just like normal people. That autism isn't a gift. I wish it was curable. I fucking hate having it. Every time someone tells me that I have a gift, I want to punch them. Don't touch me, or stand behind me. I hate waiting in lines. No, we cannot have a conversation while the song is blaring in the background. My brain is full of bees and they are buzzing uncontrollably. Too much noise makes my hearing fuzzy like a set of very cheap speakers. I'll get upset and hyperventilate. Don't tell me to calm down. I'm 27, don't treat me like I'm 10, don't compare me with your 6-year-old autistic nephew just because I have an art degree and he likes coloring books. No, I did not ask for a fast pass at Disneyland because of my disability. Yes, I'm supposed to do it this way because the boss told me to do it that way. Yes, someone put that in the wrong place. No, it wasn't me. Stop interrupting me when I'm talking to customers. I know more about this than you do. I'm very high functioning. No one knew or noticed I had Asperger's. I told you in passing, and that changed the way you treated me for the rest of our working relationship. We don't all stim. No, seriously, I know Tumblr's made it into practically the most defining autistic trait, but not all of us do it. There's way more about being autistic than stimming. Also, stim boards are stupid. I am really looking forward reading all the answers. I have a 10-year-old autistic nephew, who still is unable to fully express his emotions with words. I always try to make sure he understands that I love him. Thanks for asking the question up. Not autistic, but using the word autistic as an insult is a really shitty thing to do. Those autistic kid memes are seriously horrible and damaging to people's understanding of the spectrum. I have a pretty broad sense of humor, but autism is already really misunderstood, and those memes spread misinformation and make it way harder for us to educate people and help them understand how we operate. We function perfectly fine, and 9 times out of 10 you won't even know someone's on the spectrum until they tell you. Hell, I'm a bartender. I know a guy on the spectrum that works in construction. We're everywhere. If you think I'm being creepy or inappropriate, please just tell me. We have problems telling when things are crossing a line, and if you don't tell us directly or point these things out, then our behavior won't change. It's very hard for us to understand the nuances of social norms. Might want to put a serious tag on this one. Victory hand. You are my friend until you prove to me that I don't like/can't trust you. Also, I'm mentally all there, but in a different way to you. Think of it as a cube and cuboid that both have the same mass and volume. Sometimes I don't get jokes. It annoys me to no end. Sometimes don't pick up on sarcasm either. So when I make a joke or use sarcasm, I try my best to make it blatantly obvious that it's just a joke/sarcasm.